pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces, and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or in the alternative, face certain death. So lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. Government, it will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
promising a longer deposition today.
We have a lot more questions for Bill Clinton
than the 6 hours former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton sat for on Thursday.
I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance.
Neither Clinton has been accused of wrongdoing, but the questioning comes after former President Clinton's photo and name appeared multiple times in the news, said he had ties with Epstein before learning of any of his crimes.
The chronology of the connection that he had with Epstein ended several years before anything about Epstein's criminal activities came to light.
Democrats saying Hillary Clinton answered openly as Republicans assert they at times
weren't satisfied with answers.
Democrats now arguing the committee has set a new precedent
about talking to presidents and former presidents. And we're demanding immediately that we ask President Trump to testify.
Republicans making that appear unlikely.
President Trump has answered hundreds, if not thousands, of questions from you all about Epstein.
As the Epstein controversy hits a new marker today.
And the committee chair said one thing he's seeking from former President Clinton is insight into how Epstein managed to surround himself with such powerful people. The Clintons wanted their depositions to be open to the public and the media, and the chair has promised to release transcripts and videos as soon as possible. Joe?
Alice, I know Hillary Clinton's deposition was briefly interrupted yesterday. Walk us through what happened.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a closed hearing, but early on it was briefly derailed when Congresswoman Lauren Boebert sent to conservative influencer Benny Johnson, who posted them widely. The deposition resumed, and Boebert said that she was not reprimanded. Joe?
All right, Alice, thank you so much. We are getting new information about the people on board the boat that was involved in a deadly shootout with Cuban border troops on Wednesday. Cuban authorities say 4 people were killed and 6 were injured in what they say was a, quote, infiltration with terrorist purposes. They said all the people on board were Cuban residents of the U.S., but 2 U.S. officials tell NBC News that American citizens were among the passengers. NBC News reporter Ed Augustin joins us now from Havana with the latest. So, Ed, tell us more about what NBC is learning from these U.S. officials about these Americans and what happened to them.
Good morning, Joe. Yeah, U.S. officials have told NBC News that 2 of the people who were on that boat Wednesday morning might have been Cuban born, but they were U.S. citizens. And one of them still is, because from what we've learned, 1 of those U.S. citizens was killed in the shootout, 4 killed. Another one is injured and currently receiving medical care in Cuban hospitals. Once again, 4 killed, 6 injured in what was initially thought to be a speedboat, but now we discovered it was actually a fishing boat that appears to have been stolen, that infiltrated Cuban waters, and the shootout, according to Cuban authorities, happened 1 mile from Cuban shores.
Ed, we're also learning a bit more from NBC News sources about some of the people detained, their affiliations with an anti-Castro group. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, there are lots of fringe anti-Castro groups in Florida more broadly, and this goes way back, ever since the 1959 revolution. You know, the 1959 revolution was an armed struggle. It was a violent overthrow of a violent dictatorship. But violence was the means by which state power shifted. And so for a long time in Miami, throughout the generations, there have been people committed to armed struggle, overthrowing what they see as a illegitimate regime here that should be overthrown by force. And yesterday, the president of the said that one of the dead was a member and was not involved in the armed infiltration, but he did confirm himself that he is one of the members. I think it's worth pointing out to viewers as well, you've got to kind of put this in historical context. There is a political force in Miami that does call for violent overthrow of the Cuban government. They have done since the 1960s, and they continue to believe in that today. And Cuban claims that this was an armed incursion seem to be backed up by some circumstantial evidence. So, for example, 2 of those on the boat were publicly named by the Cuban Ministry of the Interior 2 years ago. They described them as terrorists and said they were involved in sabotage.
Ed, what are we hearing from the Cuban government just about the investigation and its willingness to exchange information with America?
I think in many ways, if we zoom out and look at the big picture, this is the most interesting thing, because US-Cuban relations are massively fraught at the moment. The US is committed to regime change in Cuba by the end of the year. The US has put a de facto oil blockade on Cuba. It's not allowing oil in to the country. People are dying in hospitals. People are lacking water. Food prices are going up. Massive toll on the civilian population. And yet Cuba's attitude is conciliatory.
No, you go to Florida,
today where the
that's the majority of Cuban people are. And
not only openly collaborating with the US, they always say that,
they all
collaborating with the US to try and get to the facts, as he put it. And interestingly, it's not just they're collaborating with the US authorities or the Coast Guard, they're collaborating with Marco Rubio's State Department. That's according to the Cuban Ministry of Foreign Relations. Fascinating stuff, especially given all of the speculation about a possible deal in the works.
All right, Ed, appreciate your reporting from Havana. Thank you so much. Here in New York, a Columbia University student is back home this morning. She was released from ICE custody after Mayor Zohran Mamdani says he raised her case directly with President Trump. The student seen here after her release was taken in a dramatic early Thursday morning operation. University officials say federal agents posed as police looking for a missing child to gain access to an off-campus apartment building. That's where they arrested the 20-year-old over what DHS said was a terminated visa. DHS says agents identified themselves and were let in by the building manager and the student's roommate. The arrest sparked large campus protests, with Mayor Mamdani saying he talked about the case with President Trump. He was then told the student would be released imminently. NBC News correspondent Valerie Castro joins me with the latest on this. So Valerie, what do we know about what happened and what DHS is responding to? I know the student posted on her Instagram story she is safe and okay.
That's right, Joe. She's posted on Instagram, but we have yet to hear from her directly about what happened yesterday. So we have the version of events from the campus acting president, and we have what DHS has told us. The president of Columbia University, she says that this was 5 federal agents who arrived at the building around 6:30 yesterday morning. They say that they misrepresented themselves, that they were there looking for a missing child, and that's how they gained access to the building. But Claire Shipman, the acting president, she spoke out yesterday after the student's release. Take a listen to what she had to say about what happened.
Our security cameras captured the agents in the hallway showing pictures of the alleged missing child. Once inside the apartment, it became clear they had misrepresented themselves. A public safety officer arrived, asked multiple times for a warrant, which was not produced, and asked for time to call his boss, which was not given. The agents took our student. This was a frightening and fast-moving situation and utterly unacceptable for our students and staff. We started work immediately to gain her release.
You heard her saying there that this was captured on surveillance camera. We should note the university